that good.
Well, did you see all those great players? A lot of coaches could have coached them, Bill. I just didn't get in their way.
Van, you're one of two coaches here tonight, I think are two of the greatest coaches we ever had in Houston. One of them sitting right out here, he's already been inducted into the Houston Sports Hall of Fame. And I'm talking about Rudy Tomjanovich.
Hey, Bill.
Rudy won, wait a minute, Rudy won 2 NBA championships. And so we thought, man, that'll never be done. And then here comes this guy from Mississippi, didn't even know his roster when they hired him. He didn't even know who he had playing for him. 4 straight WNBA championships, and that'll never be done again. So we got 2 of the greatest basketball coaches in Houston history right here with us tonight.
See, Rudy was an awfully lot of help to me in '97. I came out of college coaching, and right off the bat, I had a player personnel problem. He met me the next morning, and he said, hey, Van, get somebody to solve the player problem. The owner will get rid of you before he will her. And that's the best advice Rudy ever gave me, buddy.
Well, Noxapater, Mississippi. That's where this man started in 1965. Did you ever think you'd be getting into Hall of Fames? And this is how many, 4 or 5 Hall of Fames for you now?
I had no idea coaching in Noxapater High School. I was just trying to survive, man. I was making $4,800 a year. And Bill, I was coached here, and I was fortunate enough to be the Olympic coach. We win the gold medal. They bring me up, they introduced the Russian coach, and they had an interpreter for him. They got to me and they said, yeah, we're going to need an interpreter for this country boy from Mississippi. You know what I said? I ain't proud of this, folks, but I said, sir, I do have a gold medal. That's being a little bit of a smart aleck, but I couldn't help it.
That had to be, because every year it gets harder, doesn't it?
Yes,
to just keep doing it over and over again and winning.
Yes, it's just, you start out and everybody's happy with their piece of the pie. But once you win, everybody wants a little bit bigger piece of the pie. There's just so much to go around.
Well, you know, Carol Dawson was instrumental in helping you out. Number one, Les Alexander didn't know who the hell this guy was anyway, and didn't really care. He went to Carol. He said, I've just bought a WNBA franchise. Now what do I do? And Carol says, well, I don't know. He said, well, you're going to help me stock it. Carol didn't know anything about women's basketball, so he called a good friend of his, Leon Barmore,
yes,
who was down in Ruston, Louisiana, who had already won several championships. And jokingly, he said, Leon, you want to come up here and coach? And Leon said, Carol, I don't think that's going to be a very successful league. I'm going to stay in college coaching. But he said, there is a guy in Mississippi who might be right up your alley, because Carol Dawson spoke the language of this man right here, because you couldn't understand either one of them. In fact, whenever we interviewed Carol and Coach, when he first got here, we had to run a little crawl across the bottom of the screen, because Carol's from Alba, Texas, and he couldn't say very much either that I could understand, and neither could Coach. So you guys understood each other perfectly, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. And see, I was the last coach they hired. So I go to the first press conference. They gather up. They said, Coach, does it bother you that you're the Comet's last choice? I said, heck no, I wasn't in my mother-in-law's top 25. That's the true story. I wasn't in my mother. I only became a coach in pro ball and coached the Olympics before she acknowledged that I was her son-in-law. So let's get that straight.
Well, as long as we're on that vein, let me introduce the real boss of the family. Betty, stand up over here. Can you, dear? She's been with you for a long time, hasn't she?
Yeah.
All the way.
I jokingly say we've been married 65 years. She's been happy 45, but it's 62 years and 45. I like to say that wrong. But Bill, Everybody that knows me knows that Van wouldn't be where he is today if it hadn't been for Betty. She guided me. I always kid her when I was a high school coach. She raised 3 children, Johnny, Renee, and Van.
Well, she did a good job.
Lot of truth to it, buddy.
All right, your first practice with the Comets. Did you know what you had?
No earthly idea. I go to Houston Baptist University. I had put up with Pat Summitt at Tennessee, having the best player. I met Cynthia. She came up behind me over at Westside Tennis Club and hugged my neck, and she said, I'm a hugging player. I said, Coop, I may not be a great player, but I'm a real hugging coach. That's the first time I met her. I go to I promise you, I practiced about 30 minutes, Bill. I went down and told my coach, I said, Kevin Cook, I can be coach of the year this summer. He said, how you figure that? I said, Pat Summitt's has had the best player. I guarantee you we got the best player in Cynthia Cooper. Let me tell you something, buddy. The woman can make more plays. I will tell you one quick story. Can I do that?
Sure.
With 8 games to go, I changed the offense and put in a screen and roll play for her. She told me it's the worst play she'd ever seen. I said, you either going to run it or sit on the bench. She played. The next 3 games, she got 40, 38, 39. We go back to West Side, and she says, Coach, I just want you to know it's still the worst play I've ever seen. But the woman could get her a shot, get you a shot, and could make free throws like you will never believe.
Yeah. You had Cynthia and Tina Thompson, who I hope will eventually get into the Houston Sports Hall of Fame. You had 3 really great players on the same team.
Then I had another player that wasn't bad, Cheryl Swoops. Pretty good player there.
That's who I was talking about.
And then Tina Thompson could hit the 3 ball. And I did a good job of rolling out the ball and not getting in their way. But I told the point guard, you don't shoot. I told that post player, you don't shoot. I ain't got but 1 ball, and I'm having trouble getting it to the 3 of them.
Yeah. Well, you know, Rudy always told me, he said the best thing I ever did was gave it to Akeem every time we came down the court, at least once every possession. And that's part of coaching, isn't it? Find out where your best players are and get them the ball, huh?
Coaching it, I'm not an equal opportunity employer. Hey, not everybody's going to get shots. Little Kim Perrott I had one of the greatest point guards, the heart and soul of our team. It's the saddest day of my life is when she passed away of cancer. But she just could get the ball to the 3 of them and keep them fairly happy.
Yeah, and they respected her a lot.
Yes,
too.
she has the greatest heart of any player I've ever been around.
Yeah. I think what was amazing to me is how the city of Houston took to the Comets. I mean, at the end there, the last 2 championships, the summit was completely full.
We started out, nobody knew us. Rudy and them were playing the Utah Jazz in 1997. That's all everybody thought about. Everywhere we went, they wanted to know what was a Comet. Nobody knew us, but all of a sudden, Cynthia and Kim and all of them started signing autographs, taking pictures. I mean, if you got in here today, everybody in this room could ask Cooper and I for a picture. We'd try to accommodate everybody in this room today. That was just our personalities. And we sold out. The very first time we played the New York Liberty, we had 16,285 people. Never forget it. It was the city. Our fans came to play. Yeah. But if they got in the stands, they came 30 to an hour ahead of time. And our fans at that time were the best fans in America.
They really were. And the players, the Rocket players, loved to come to the games.
Oh, yeah. A lot of their players would hang around for the summer, come to the game. And it was a special relationship here. My oldest grandson was named Nick, and I went to a Rockets game, and Barkley was on IR. And I lost Nick. I couldn't find him. And the security people, everybody loved our team. And the guy said, hey, Coach, your grandson's down in the locker room watching cartoons with Charles Barkley. And he was. I mean, the players loved our team. The Rocket players loved it.
Charles still watches
but
cartoons on TV now when he talks about the NBA.
Yeah.
He's still watching cartoons. Talk
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit about the gold medal and what that meant to you, and how did you get the gold medal, the Olympic head coaching job?
Well, I wasn't in line. I wasn't supposed to get the job. God's just blessed this country, boy. I ain't sure why, but he has. I wasn't supposed to get the job. The Connecticut coach was supposed to get the job. He had a problem in the 2000 Olympics. He was supposed to get it, and Lisa Leslie and Cheryl and Dawn, some other players had a problem. And they said they wanted to play for me, and that's how I became the Olympic coach. And I went, and the greatest experience for a country boy from rural Mississippi, the championships meant everything, but when I would put my shirt on to go out for a game, I'd cry a little bit, Bill. It just meant so much to represent USA basketball.
Well, you had 3 of your players on the team, so
Yeah,
that had to make you feel a little better. Huh?
I'd coached all the other players in All-Star games. And when I had them in All-Star games, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't practice. Just show up. I had Lisa Leslie, I had Cynthia, I had Cheryl, I had Tina, and I had Diana Taurasi. I didn't need to practice. They got on to me because I wouldn't use all my time in Madison Square Garden. What am I going to tell them? Huh?
That's right.
Get the ball in bounds and let's roll. I mean, that wasn't hard to do now, I'm telling you.
You know,
My backup team was we had 11 players. My 11th player was an All-American. That's coaching right there, buddy. I mean, yes. And I just love coaching them. I just had a wonderful time. I came back here, and Houston's just been really, really good to my family. I got all 4 of my adults, children are with me, and I got 4 grandboys. I got 1 here, Joe's with me tonight, and it's just been a wonderful ride in Houston, Texas. I never intended to live here for a long time. I was going to go back to Oxford. I just went back to Oxford. In that little old town, it's like going back to another country, buddy, after being in Houston, Texas.
You know, you did a great job with the Comets, of course, but then you went to LSU for 4 years after you left here, and you got into a Final Four with LSU, and that kind of, that was it for you, huh?
Yeah, I was a hired gun at LSU. I'll just tell you that right now. I didn't intend to coach anymore, but they had been to the Final Four. All 5 starters returned. I said, this is where I coach my very best. Great players, buddy. I had a 6'5" woman named Sylvia Fowles. She was the best player in the country. I said, they said, do you want this job? And I said, is Sylvia Fowles returning? They said, yes. I said, I'll take this job. And so I went there. We were 1 rebound short. We got beat by Tennessee by 1 point for the national championship. I'm 68 years old, in line to recruit at Disney World with my grandchildren, and I said enough is enough, and I come back here.
Well, we've loved having you in the community because you really respond to all the charity events.
Well, thank
You're one of the most popular players we have out here in the golf tournaments, and we have taken you in as a Houstonian.
Well, thank you.
You are a Houstonian, although we know you didn't come from Houston when you talk.
Oh, yeah, but Bill, you remember this. The nicer the gift in the golf tournaments, the more I might cheat. Now, if they're giving little old bitty small trophies away, I'm going to follow all the rules. You just remember that. That's just the rule of golf.
I'll tell you something about Dr. Ed Young's out there, and
Well,
I
sometimes...
used to play golf. Did you ever play golf with Ed?
No, but I go to Dr. Young's church out at 1463. I've been a Methodist all my life, but I'm going to this Baptist church, and I tell them all, boys, I just can't always do right. I'll try, but I just can't do it, Bill.
Well, they don't take confessions in the
But
back.
I want to say one thing, ladies and gentlemen. I got to do a year of TV work for the Rockets for Bill Worrell. That's the easiest money I ever made in my life. If you can't do a game with him, you ought to quit. He is the very best of all times. But I will tell you this now. The first game we did, Bill, the producer had us rehearsing. Well, I did a great job on the tape they didn't use, but I just flubbed the other. Bill went in and said, my coach doesn't have but one tape. There'll be no more practices the rest of the year. But I want to tell them this also. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest of all times is the GOAT, is sometimes misused and overused. But in the world of announcing professional athletics, college athletics, Bill Worrell is the greatest in the city of Houston ever.